the forgotten camping trick that modern campers quietly stole from the past. You know, modern camping gear didn't invent comfort in the wild. It rediscovered it. Long before titanium stoves, insulated pads and ultralight tents, people were sleeping warm, dry and protected in conditions that would make most modern campers pack up and leave. They did it with one deceptively simple trick that history nearly erased. And once you see how it works, you'll realize just how much of today's camping culture is built on it. This is the story of the reflector fire shelter, a forgotten survival setup that shaped how humans camped for centuries and still quietly powers modern outdoor design. A survival setup older than camping itself. The reflector fire shelter wasn't a luxury. It was survival. So, as mass-produced tents became common in the mid-20th century, camping really shifted from a survival skill to more of a recreational activity. Gear started to replace knowledge. Canvas took the place of woodcraft. Now, here's where things get interesting. Modern camping shelters have quietly borrowed from this ancient trick. Hammock campers use underquilts that reflect body heat upward. Emergency bivy bags, well, they rely on reflective surfaces to bounce heat back toward the user. Even modern tent vestibules and windbreak designs, they borrow from the idea of directing airflow and radiant energy. Fire reflectors themselves, they still exist, but just, disguised. Campfire windscreens, heat shields, folding reflective panels sold to winter campers. They're all echoes of the same principle: control where heat goes. Don't fight nature, redirect it. Ultralight backpackers who use tarp shelters, they're unknowingly recreating the open front lean-to design. Cold weather campers, they position fires near rock faces or snow walls for heat reflection. And survival instructors, well, they still teach reflector fires because they work when batteries die and gear fails. Modern camping didn't invent innovation. It inherited it. How to use the trick today? This isn't just history, it's practical. If you're camping in cold or damp conditions and fires are permitted, the reflector fire shelter is still one of the most efficient setups available. The key is scale and placement. The fire should be small and controlled. The reflector wall should be solid and positioned close enough to capture heat without blocking airflow. The shelter should be low to the ground to reduce heat loss, but open enough to avoid smoke build-up. Even without building a full shelter, placing a reflective surface behind a fire can dramatically increase warmth. Rocks, logs, packed snow, or even a portable heat reflector can make a noticeable difference. This is the kind of knowledge that turns discomfort into confidence, and it works even when modern gear fails. Why this knowledge still matters? Here's the deeper lesson. Survival skills aren't about rejecting modern tools. They're about understanding the principles behind them. When you know why something works, you can adapt it, you can improvise. You're no longer dependent on perfect conditions or perfect equipment. The reflector fire shelter represents a mindset that modern camping sometimes loses. A mindset rooted in observation, patience, and respect for the environment. People survived harsh landscapes long before Gore-Tex and carbon fiber. Not because they were tougher, but because they were smarter about energy, materials, and design. That wisdom still has value today. The past is still teaching us. Every time a modern camper uses a reflective tarp, a windbreak, or a minimalist shelter paired with a heat source, they're echoing a forgotten trick from the past. They may not know its name, they may not know its history, but they're using the same logic that kept people alive through centuries of hard travel and cold nights. That's what makes survival history so powerful. It's not nostalgia, it's instruction, and the wild hasn't changed as much as we think. Final thoughts. The next time you sit by a campfire and feel warmth radiating toward you, remember this. That comfort didn't come from modern innovation alone. It came from generations of trial, error, and quiet brilliance. If you value these forgotten skills, if you want to understand where modern survival really comes from, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Legacy of Survival for more true stories, real techniques, and practical knowledge pulled straight from history. Like the video if you learned something new. Share it with someone who loves the outdoors. And stay curious, because the past still knows things we've forgotten.